Hey, this is Coach JJ, and today we're going to be breaking down our 12 gateways. So, in our system at Orange One Belt, we have our 6 gateway counters, which starts to combine different gateways. But in total, there are 12. All right. We're going to be going over each one of these so you can kind of see a little bit of the difference. We're trying to cover as many bases as we can. This is mainly for our Filipino boxing, but again, this is all defensive. Now, we call these gateways because essentially you can use any one of these to either enter or exit from an attack. All right, that's why I call it a gateway. I've heard ones called entries, where it's only meant to enter, but you can also use these to exit. And in fact, this system builds up a lot of utilizing these gateways as ways to exit out as well if you need. So we're always trying to sandwich our defensive types of motions, whether we're entering in or we're exiting out. Say we're still trying to implement one or the other. I'm going to do the best that I can for this. Just imagine that there's going to be a limb shooting in towards my face for all of these, so you guys can kind of see what it is that I'm doing from here. Okay, so we're going to start with our gateway number 1, which is the cross parry. Now, any sort of cross movement that we have in our name, with the exception of the cross punch, it's going to come across the body. The movement is going to be going from one side to across the body. Now, again, if a punch is coming in from here, it doesn't matter if I'm moving to the inside or the outside. Okay, as long as I move across my center line to move that one, and again, I can use a side step with this as well, but I'm not going to be demonstrating that for this. That is just some when we start adding in evasions and steps. That's just an extra level of defense. So as you practice these, you can use that, but just for demonstration purposes, imagine from here, my cross parry is going to go across my center line to parry all the way across. Okay. In some of my videos, you might have heard me say a check for this one. That's just an old habit that I had. So whenever I parry, I'm going to be moving to the same side of my body. Okay. So cross parry crosses my center line. That is really loud. Cross parry crosses my center line to the cross side. A regular parry will actually go from the opposite side and clears to my same side. All right. So that is my parry. So cross parry, parry. All right. And this starts to make a little more sense as we move up. Okay, those two types of moves that we're using here, those are the very basic ones. Each version, as we move up, you'll see there are a little bit of variations, so we can start entering a little bit easier. But you can use your cross parry and your parry to enter in. You don't need to go any further. But these other ones are meant to add a little bit more variety and how we can actually attack or use use these gateways to enter in and then again exit out. All right, so that was our gateways 1 and 2. All right, gateways 3 and 4 are very, very similar. All right, but if I did a cross parry and I did a parry right from this position here, we're going to do what's called a hairbrush. It's called a hairbrush because it's like you're brushing your hair from the side. All right, so if I were to parry, the shot comes in here. If I were to parry and move into that hairbrush, we just call that move a hairbrush. Okay, we don't have to say parry, hairbrush. You can break it down. It's not necessary that you do. Number 4, this is just like how we did with the hairbrush, but this is called a cross brush. This is a little less known from what you see, but utilizing that cross parry, we're going to cross brush right along the side of our head, making sure it's coming here. So I don't want to come all the way out here as a cross brush. I actually want to brush close to my head, almost like I'm doing a hairbrush from this side. So hairbrush is on the same side. Cross brush crosses my center line and moves across my face. All right. So we have our cross parry, our hairbrush, right? And our cross brush coming across there. Okay, those are our first 4 that we've got. All right, moving on to our number 5, we have our split scissor. All right, if you've already studied some of our gateway counters, you'll know that a split scissor does make that scissor type of motion back and forth from here. Now, in general, for these movements, we're usually moving on to the outside. We're not moving on to the inside. And that'll make a little more sense for that. So if this punch is coming from here and the outside is here, right? So if I move to this side, it's moving on to the inside of my opponent, inside the pocket. If I move to this side, it's on the outside of the pocket, all right? For a split scissor coming up, okay, I'm actually going to parry or cross parry on the outside, and I'm going to scissor in at the same time, attacking the arm. Okay, so this is an offense and defense at the same time. We're utilizing that cross parry and scissor. Remember, if the limb is out here and this is toward out of the pocket, that's the motion from this. Okay, so I'm coming across split scissor from here. Okay, that is your number 5. Number 6 is one of two. We will have the vertical scissor or the reverse scissor. Now, we call that because of how it's implemented. Now, that shot's coming in here, fist is right here. This is inside the pocket, this is outside the pocket. Remember, split scissors here. My reverse scissor is going to do the exact opposite. So I'm actually going to pair on the inside and then hit onto the outside, still making that scissoring type of motion. All right. Now for the vertical scissor, right, I'm going to actually use that same side on the inside, and I'm going to pop up instead. So instead of this type of motion in the reverse scissor, I'm actually becoming up, and I'm usually attacking the tricep. You can attack the elbow or the forearm from this, but in general, that comes up from here. That is a vertical type of scissor, right? So that's why we kind of bundle them together. You can technically move on the inside with the vertical scissor. However, this motion here does require you to kind of make sure that you are covered. That's why we like moving to the outside from here. Pop right from that position from there. And these come into play with some of our destructions as well. All right, so that is your 5 and 6, your split scissor and your reverse and or your vertical scissor. All right, next we have our impacts. So number 7 and 8. So we're going to start with a cross parry impact. I'm going to stick with this being on inside the pocket, this being on the outside of the pocket. Again, punches here. All right, if I go to the outside of the body, right, or excuse me, if I go to the inside of the body, that means another fist is right here. It's easier to hit me. If I move to the outside of the body, it's a little bit easier for me to evade and counter from that. And it really doesn't matter which one you move into. Just know that if you move to the inside, you have something else. You have other weapons you got to deal with. All right, at least most immediately. All right, going back to our cross parry impact. So our number 7. Okay, so moving on to that cross parry again, crossing from this side. Now the thing is with impacts is when I impact with this, it's going onto the same side. So unlike our split scissor where we're crossing this way, I'm actually going to be cross pairing and impacting on the same side of the arm. Okay, that is a cross parry impact. Now, I mentioned this in our 6 gateway counters. I can do them one at a time or at the same time. It doesn't matter. Okay, but again, this is one way that we can enter in. It's almost like a 2-on-1 on the same side, so we can get that good sort of extension on there. All right, so real nice and easy on that one. And then for our number 8, which is our parry impact, just the same thing. We're going to parry and impact on the same side. Now again, you can do this on the inside or the outside. We actually use our parry impacts for a lot of hook types of motions, and we can deal directly with the next the inside limb, the opposite limb if we need to, right? So I can parry impact from here, I can parry impact from here. It doesn't matter as long as we're trying to get that 2-on-1, same thing on the same side. Because again, I'll move it to the outside. I'm going to parry, so crossing my center line to the same side and impacting at the same time. So that is your cross parry impact and your parry impact, your 7 and 8. Moving to our number 9 and 10, we have our cross parry spear and our parry spear. Okay, so still utilizing this as the outside. So cross parry spear, similar to our impact, is once we cross parry, but instead of impacting here, I'm actually spearing up and over. All right, that is your cross parry and spear. Now for this one, it might be a little hard to understand because I'm attacking from the outside. But I don't necessarily have to be this direction here. I could actually cross parry and spear over as long as I'm on the same side of the limb. Okay, so this is where it's a little bit different. I can come here or here. That is a cross parry and some sort of spear, whether I'm going above or below. All right, either one is still a cross parry spear. And then of course the parry spear, same thing. If I move to the outside and I parry from here, I can shoot from here. Again, above or below, it doesn't matter. So it doesn't matter what sector you're using for this. I can shoot here or I can shoot here, as long as it's on the same side as the limb that's coming in. Okay, so those are your cross parry spears and your parry spears. And then to round out everything else, we have our split spears and our reverse spears. So again, as we moved into our gateway counters, our 6 gateway counters, you might have noticed some of these. All right, so our split spear, very similar to a split scissor. So if I move to the outside, okay, move it to the outside, I'm still utilizing that cross parry from here, but instead of attacking the limb like a scissor, I'm going to actually sneak up towards the center line and attack. Okay, so again, moving to the outside from here, I'm crossing from here, and instead of scissoring, I'm going to spear right up the center line from here. All right, that is your 11. And then your last one is a reverse spear, which is exactly as it sounds. Instead of crossing this way, right, and moving up to this one, I'm actually catching on the opposite side. So I'm catching on the inside and spearing from the outside. Thus a reverse type of spearing motion. All right, and those are our gateways 1 through 12. So cross parry, parry, okay, hairbrush, cross brush, okay. We have a split scissor, right? We have a reverse scissor or vertical scissor. We'll go from there, all right? We have a cross parry impact, a parry impact, all right? Then we have our cross spear, our parry spear, right? And then it could be palms, it could be strikes, it doesn't matter. I'm just using this spear, right? Then we have our split spear. So coming from the outside, it's splitting up the middle. And then our reverse spears, catching on the inside and spearing from the outside. And those are the 12 gateways. And again, the gateway counters that we have are just some of the ones that we can use just to combine them. You can combine these one to the other, whichever one flows best. But especially for teaching purposes, that's why I wanted to do a video where we really broke down all 12 of the gateways. Okay, so now you'll have a little bit of understanding on how we started to structure it, and we added strikes into our gateway counters. But again, you can use any of these for entry or exiting. All right, that's why it's a gateway. Gateways you can enter or exit. It's not just a single way. And we utilize that all the time with our defensive movements or evading type of movements, just to kind of make sure we can add strikes as we move away. Especially Filipino boxing, it's notorious for being offensive and defensive at the same time, and these are no different. So if you notice, we're hitting up every type of angle for these. That's why there's 12 of them. It's not required for the curriculum, but this is again meant for informational purposes, so you can get a little bit of a better understanding of what we're talking about when we talk about our gateways, especially the 12 gateways. All right, if you do have any questions, please go ahead and email or message me. With anything you got, and I will try to answer those as best as possible. Otherwise, good luck training, guys. Hopefully you found this information, and we'll see you later.